Thank you for joining us today and welcome to our conversation on mental health in the African diaspora. My name is Jummy and I'm the founder of WellSpring VitalHub. I'm excited to introduce our special guest today, Dr. Titilayo Ohiku. She's a psychotherapist, founder and lead therapist at Winning Families Therapeutic Center. She has over decades of experience supporting children, youth, couples, and families. So I want to welcome you, Dr. TT. Thank you for being here. So I'll leave the floor open for you to introduce yourself again in case I missed anything and just let's get started from there. Thank you for being here.
Thank you so much, Jimmy. I really appreciate it for this great opportunity. Yes, I'm Titi Ohiku, like she said. I am a registered social worker slash psychotherapist. I basically have been working in this field, which mainly started about, I want to say like about 10 years ago, just supporting the wellness of an educational sector of children, youth, families, and couples. I do run a private practice called Winning Families Therapeutic, again, supporting children, families, particularly also inclusion of the neurodivergent population, which I'm very passionate about. So I'm really happy to be here as an African immigrant in the diaspora. There's a lot that we need to capture in terms of, what we're seeing, the disparities that we're seeing in mental health awareness and how this is impacting us at a larger, community. So let's go to it. Thank you.
Thank you so much. So let's get started because I know a lot of people are waiting to hear about mental health, especially in the African diaspora. So before we even dive into mental health, I just want to know what inspired your work in mental health, especially in the African diaspora. Can you touch base on that?
Yes, honestly, I want to say it's passion. First of all, passion to serve humanity, passion to be selfless in terms of just helping people, which I think I've embodied for so long. But I didn't realize it if I didn't even realize it on time, I probably would have gone into human service instead of going to accounting. And purpose was the driving factor. So I saw myself serving in the children ministry where my whole passion for working humanity came up. So that led me, from teaching in the children's department, led me into the education sector. So I had to make that shift from coming from an accounting background. And it was from my years of being in the school board, working with children, youth, particularly the kind of disparities I was seeing, including racism. I was seeing in classes, particularly in the BIPOC population, the less privileged communities where you see kids just acting up, right? And when you talk about the diversity, it's like another layer because here are kids like we're talking about kids that have ADHD, ASD, FASD, figure out syndrome, and there's no words to express them. So when I sit in this class, because I was a casual staff, so I go to a lot of different places. And I remember October 2018, heavily pregnant in the classroom, and I heard the voice of the Lord saying to me, you need to be counseling those people instead of teaching. That is where that confirmation came in. Like I said, I've always been that kind of person. Funny enough, even way before I started teaching in the children department, I'm the kind of person that even when I was single, I used to counsel people, marriages. I was so passionate about marriages. And of course, I have a marriage ministry. So to me, I think it's, the desire, the passion to just be a selfless helper. Now, having also with my purpose, alignment to my ministry work, right? And it was so weird, even when I get upset into my master's program and I didn't really know what particular specification I need to apply to, I hear the voice of God saying children and families, children and families. So, and truly I got accepted into University of Toronto. So it became so clear that this is what God has originally created me for. You might have so that's where it all comes from. So it's passion ignited with fulfilling purpose. And that's why I got started. And I'm
That's
so happy.
amazing to hear. This is great. So why is this conversation so important to you right now? Have you gone through things? Have you seen so many things? Like, why is this a passion for you at this moment in time?
I think the mental health awareness, the mental health discussion, conversation, uncomfortable conversation we can have in the African diaspora is so crucial. And I say that because of the many, many, many very situations that I've seen, like situations that are like I'm talking about. So I've been privileged to be in the education force, so working with children, youth, and of course having that intersectionality with parents. And what I see, as a matter of fact, one of my first, in my own private practice, and God laid this in my heart. Think about CAS, for example. I don't know if you're aware, but when we look at CAS, when we look at the trajectory of CAS, I'm talking about children aid services, right? And you look at the amount of families that are being sent into those systems. Research has shown us these mostly Blacks, African, Caribbean. And when you begin to look into that, you're like, there is something not right. What are we looking at? And there's been a revamp I live in Canada, whereby those numbers of referral has been reduced because they begin to look at what are the foundational problem. We're seeing kids acting up, we're seeing kids being disrupted at home, parents losing their guards, right? Or even in the classroom, right? So what we find out is there's a lot of multiple layers that does impact families, children. And when we do not have the knowledge about how this is forming, then we're all going to find ourselves in a box where by the end of the day, we can understand it. And that's what I saw. I saw that, and I'll give examples even in my own private practice. And I also saw that in the school system. And when we think about this new generation, the second generation, like we are immigrants, our kids, there's that learning that we brought up from back home, the learning that we have that is not the same anymore. We cannot transfer those educational, the way parenting values to the new generation that we have now in this westernized. It's so different. So what I'm seeing in my practice, I'm seeing families that want to use the same African values. Don't get me wrong, I'm very African. I think it is balanced. It's all about, I tell parents, it's all about balancing it. How do we balance it? Listen, mental health, the foundation of every mental health challenges, when I call it, because in our community, mental health is this big stigma, is craziness. I once had a professional told me, oh, Sister Titi, you're working with crazy people? And I was like, oh, no, you didn't say that, right? The underlying mental health is not just from all of a sudden. It's unwanted emotions that's not being met. Then it develop into behavior. Then it develop into when ignorance, isolation, then it can develop further to depressive states, name it, right? So it's so crucial because I think parents that I'm seeing in the diaspora don't even have this knowledge. And that's why I am so passionate about giving the tools, giving education, especially in the sector that I work at. Like I told you earlier, there's the referral system of kids being taken from home start from the school system. You can do your research. And so when parents don't have the tools, when our church community see mental health as taboo, you know what I mean, as sickly, right? Then when these kids act up, what do we even understand why? You know what I mean? We can even spread it to intimate partner violence. How does that impact children, right? So I think we need to be having this conversation. And funny enough, even back home in Africa, this conversation is coming up because before somebody becomes suicidal, there's multiple layers of things that happen that made a child to say, I'm going to kill myself. Do we even worry about that?
Sure.
Like if your child is telling you, Mommy, I hate you so much. Mommy, you made my life miserable. There is a need. There's that connection. That child is saying, talk to me. I need to hear you. Like a lot of African friends, including myself, I'm learning. I'm always telling the Holy Spirit, help me, right? But it's more than what we're seeing. I mean, my sister, we're seeing a lot. Why? Because the knowledge is not there. The stigmatization has really set people behind, people having different values, the religious worldviews, right? There's so much intersectionality that's impact how the African diasporas view mental health until it knocks on their door.